Hey YouTube, how you guys doing? My name is Kyle, you know me as Dragonmar, and welcome to a new video. Today we've got a fun one. We've done this in the past. We're doing one simple mistake players make at each rank and a little bit on how to fix it. Now, I'm not trying to call you guys out with these videos, but I do think that there are some really common mistakes that I've seen throughout all the VOD reviews and the coaching I've done, and that's kind of why I like to bring them to light, just so we all can be like, oh, hey, I do this, let me try to work on it, that kind of a thing. If you guys do enjoy the video, hey, leave a like, leave a comment, subscribe. It really does help the channel, and I really appreciate it. And if you guys have questions, you want to chat, or just watch me play, remember I am streaming pretty much daily on Twitch around 10 a.m. Eastern, twitch.tv/Dragonmar. Hope to see you guys there. With that being said, let's start the video. All right, so starting with the lowest of low, we're starting with Iron here. And I am not sure if everyone is going to share my opinion on this. I don't think it's controversial per se, but maybe some people would disagree. If you do, let me know. But I have found in my experience that players in Iron are just thinking too much. And I know that sounds kind of weird to say since I talk so much about, you know, kind of being really analytical in the way you play and things to that extent. But I think at Iron, what ends up happening is people are too focused on like pro level strats and having the perfect team composition, running the perfect execute, playing in a certain post-plant position that they saw pro play that requires like 6 other things to kind of be in line that makes it perfect, that just isn't going to happen in Iron. Or even things like just expecting too much from your teammates. You know, I think that what you have to realize when you're in Iron is that you are at the lowest rank in the game. You are in the group of the worst players. And that is okay because you are going to escape it. You are going to climb and you're going to rank up and you're going to get out of there. But for the time being, you really need to stop focusing so much on these super in-depth strats, these like these really particular setups and set plays that just don't happen at this rank. Instead, you really just want to focus on getting all the information you can, learning as much as you can about the game, playing as much as you can, practicing as much as you can. A lot of getting out of Iron just simply comes down to pure game time and time in the game, which is why I kind of cringe when people comment to my Twitch chat and they're like, hey, I'm Iron, how do I rank up? And unfortunately, the answer to that is just play the game. Stop focusing so much on what you see people like Hiko do. Start focusing on how to just move and how to aim your gun and good plant spots and things like that. All right, now we're getting into Bronze. I've definitely talked about this before, and this is a problem you see kind of spread between the lower half of the ranks, but that's running and gunning or just, you know, inaccuracy when shooting. This is a big problem for these low ranks because a lot of players are coming in from other games that maybe have a more favorable recoil sort of system or no recoil at all, or they're just playing like it's COD. So a lot of the Bronze VOD reviews I watch, I do sometimes feel like I'm watching them play in a COD lobby, and I think this is a really important time to like snap that bad habit. This is something that you've probably heard me talk about before, where part of the reason I talk about these concepts is because it's really important to snap the bad habit before it just becomes too ingrained into your like play style that it's almost irremovable, right? Nothing is ever you know, too ingrained to be able to be fixed, but you don't want to let it get too bad. So focusing on running and gunning in Bronze as one of the keys to set you apart from players at that rank. This is a huge mistake people make. And a lot of times they think it's like helping them because they're able to kind of move past people's shots. But generally speaking, at least medium range, close range, you can kind of get away with it. Medium range, though, people who are standing still and utilizing the proper Valorant mechanics for shooting are going to be beating you. So if you can focus on fixing this early on, making sure your first shot is accurate without moving, right? So make sure you're stopped first before you shoot, taking that extra little bit of time that it takes and lining up those headshots. This is really, really useful if you're at this rank because if you can get that into your head and do that, you'll probably get to silver within like a week of playing. Now, moving up to silver, I have definitely found that there's a big problem with players standing in the open. So this is a positioning mistake, of course, but I think it also has a lot to do with just pure raw like awareness. I have found obviously at all ranks people are out of position, but it just feels like silvers take some of the worst fights considering that they have some decent experience in the game. A lot of this comes down, I think, to just being like a little bit too aggressive or being too confident in their plays and just taking these like long range duels that just don't really ever favor them. So what ends up happening is you'll have someone just kind of like, you know, holding like a very normal position, and then they'll like swing out wide and just like go for a fight that is just completely 50-50, and if they lose it, they lose the round. And I think that this is a really important time in like player development for people to kind of like get that under control, because you can't be making those stupid mistakes where you're just completely out of position once you start getting to the higher ranks, where you're just taking fights out in the open, you know, which you see a ton of at this rank. Because once you get into gold, once you get into plat, people are just going to punish that over and over and over. So you really want to make sure that, once again, you're not creating a bad habit out of being out of position and fighting out in the open. You always want to be near cover. If you're not near cover, you want to have some sort of movement ability, like a jet dash that allows you to get back to safety quickly. Otherwise, you are just kind of like target practice, essentially, for the enemy team. Now, around gold, I think this is where I start focusing more on things like aiming, because I do feel once you hit this rank, you're going to start playing people who feel kind of like gods sometimes, but the truth is they are your rank. And I think that the key here at gold is the biggest mistake I see is body shots. You'll have the odd spray hit a headshot, but for the most part, I have found that gold is the particular rank where people just are so okay with just spraying down bodies. Whether it be someone who's standing, crouching, it doesn't matter. I always see people aim for the body. Now, there's nothing wrong with killing somebody with a body shot, but your first shot should always be trying to hit a headshot. Why would you want to spend 4 bullets to kill someone when you can do it with 1? This should be the question you always ask yourself whenever you find yourself kind of just going for body shots. Why am I wasting my time? And at this rank, like I was saying, it starts to matter more because you're playing people who are going to punish this type of behavior. So if you get too comfortable going for body shots, well, guess what? You're going to run into a player eventually who doesn't settle for body shots and who only goes for headshots, and they're going to beat you probably 9 out of 10 times. Now, one piece of advice I can give here is, in my personal experience, using the Vandal has caused me to be a better player when it comes to my aim. When I use the Phantom, I am too reliant on the spray and on the better recoil than I am when it comes to the Vandal. So in the Vandal, I go for headshots. With the Phantom, I find myself relaxing and getting lazy and going for body shots. So I don't know if this can help you guys, but potentially using the Vandal here could maybe snap that bad habit of relying on body shots and on the recoil just to carry you through. Now, if you guys have watched any of my VOD reviews on either stream or YouTube, or heard me talk about plat, you know one of my biggest problems with this rank is the re-aggression or the re-peaks, or the inability just to take a win for a win and then fall off of that position. This is the rank where people are just so cocky and so arrogant. Not always like a bad thing, of course. Sometimes people don't even realize they're doing this, but the honest truth is that I do find this is where this mistake happens the most. Essentially what I'm talking about is a player will get a kill, and then instead of falling back, you know, a great kill, first blood, right? Doing really well, team goes up. They'll immediately re-peak into a position where they are now known into an unknown quantity of enemies, right? And most of the time, they're going to die. Maybe they get another kill before traded, maybe. But most of the time, they are going to probably fight 1 to 2 other enemies in a position they weren't aware of, right? Because generally speaking, that first kill is going to be a 1v1 that they take. They're going to kill them, fall back, then they lose line of sight, so they can't see where the enemies are repositioning to. They re-peak in with no flashes, no abilities, no knowledge, no nothing, and they die. That is a huge problem, because at high ranks, what ends up happening is that type of re-aggression is punished really harsh, because especially if you're doing this on defense, attackers getting a trade tends to favor attackers, because attackers can all group up to go to a site. Well, generally the defense is split. So if you're playing a 2-3 split and you're on the 2-player side, if you push, you get an early pick, and then you re-peak and die, your team is potentially in a 4v1, right? That person might be playing solo if someone didn't rotate fast enough. That is going to get punished. So that's exactly why you want to stop this as quickly as you can. What people need to understand is that 2 kills is great, but dying for those kills isn't that great. And dying for a 1-for-1 completely invalidates anything you just did. That original pick just lost all of its meaning, especially on defense. Huge piece of advice here. Do not make this mistake. If you guys are getting opening kills, first bloods, take your kill and fall back. Don't feel bad about it. Don't try to get more. Don't get greedy. Greed is what's going to cause you to lose so many games over the course of your time playing Valorant. It is unbelievable. The quicker you can get rid of that, the quicker you can get that out of your head and out of the kind of your play style, the better player you're going to be. Getting up to Diamond, obviously, we're talking about really the upper part of the player base. And at this point, most players are pretty consistent and pretty good. But I do think that there is one mistake that happens here a lot that really is persistent across the high ranks, across Plat, Diamond, Immortal, Radiant. It's that people rush the 2v1s. They rush their what's it called? Their advantage, right? You know how in like tennis, when it gets like what is it? 40-40 or something? Is that love? I don't know. It's not. Love is 0. When it gets and you get like an advantage, think about that in Valorant where you're like up and you have an advantage and now you have a chance to win. That's when people rush when they shouldn't. Whenever you guys are in a 2v1 or a 3v2, your focus is on trading always, because trades are going to win the round. Now, the only time you don't want to go for a trade is when you're going to need that player for something else. Like, for example, if you have an Omen, typically speaking on a post plant, if it's like a 3v2, you kind of want that Omen alive so they can use a smoke to block vision. So you don't really want them to be traded, but the point still stands. Is that at Diamond, I see a lot of people rushing what is an advantage situation, and then they end up losing it. Because instead of taking a 2v1 and trading, they end up taking a 1v1. And then the next player takes a 1v1 and dies, and then it's over. Because you're giving these players on the other team an equal chance at winning. You don't want that. You want to use every advantage you have, aside from cheating, to beat them. That's why you want to peak together. I mean, it doesn't get much more simple than this. And it's crazy that this is a mistake that happens at a high level, but it really, really does. And I think that, you know, one of the best ways to fix this is to kind of just relax when the spike is planted. Because most of the time when I'm talking about this stuff, I'm talking about a spike being down and you having to go retake in like a 2v1, for example. And I think that sometimes what happens is people they underestimate how long the spike lasts, right? It's about 40 seconds, right? There's some serious time there to work with. You don't have to rush. And that's what gets people in the most trouble for sure, is that they won't wait that extra second or two for a teammate to be in the perfect position. They'll just be in like an okay position. And suddenly the enemy player takes a perfect peek on you, gets a great angle, and ends up winning the round. You don't want that to happen. It is really important once you hit Diamond to close out those clutch situations to get those vital rounds. And finally, I'm going to talk about Immortal. Immortal is more of a complaint just because this is where I live mainly. And because I think that a lot of people don't understand that just because Immortals are a high rank doesn't mean they don't make mistakes. Pretty much every mistake I've talked about in this video, Immortals make as well, every now and then. A lot less frequently, but of course they do. Most of the mistakes in Immortal are based around reacting to enemies' plays and counterplaying them. A lot of the times that's going to result in them being caught out of position, which is something I've already talked about in Silver, right? It's just a different style. That's kind of why I'm not really, talking about it in the same way. But what I want to talk about for Immortal is like I said, it's more of a complaint. It's about individual plays. And what I've found is that a lot of players in Immortal are surprisingly selfish in some of my games. And instead of asking for help, instead of trying to work with the team, they'll try to just do things on their own. And as a support player, that's super frustrating because I'm relying on these guys who are mainly duelists to kind of, get the opening picks and to play off of, my abilities, whether it's my smokes, my flashes, whatever. If they don't communicate with me, I can't do that, right? And I think this is a big problem with this rank where people think they're better than they are. And so instead of working with teammates, they just try to do things on their own too much. And that's definitely my biggest complaint. And I'd say that one of the biggest mistakes you see at this rank is that, like I just talked about in the previous point, they'll rush those advantage situations. They will push solo without help. They won't make callouts, right? They'll just do things on their own. And this is one of the biggest problems I've found in my games is not so much the skill level of my teammates or the mechanical errors they're making, but their teamwork and the way they try to play on their own instead of as a team in a game that is so team focused. And that's all I can say there. And it's more of a plea for help. Like, please, if you guys are an immortal, and I know there's immortals who watch my videos, you got to play with your team. I don't understand what you think you're doing, you know, running it down mid every round, just trying to frag out like every game. It blows my mind. You ruin the experience for other people. Please, this is a plea from Dragonmar to you. Please play with your teammates. And guys, that's going to do it for the video. Obviously, I've done a lot of these type of videos, so if you guys are enjoying them, I'll definitely make more. Let me know what you want to see next in the comments down below, and hopefully I'll see you on stream. Take it easy, and peace.